Good afternoon. It's really great to be back in Miami and to be at the Don Soffer Clinical Research Center. And I'm very excited to have the First Lady here with us for today's great announcement. We're also joined with Surgeon General Florida, Dr. Joe Ladapo. We have Senators Manny Diaz and Ileana Garcia, Representatives Alupis, Demi Basada Cabrera, Fabricio, Rizzo, Rodriguez, and I want to thank them for their support for what we're going to announce today. Also want to thank Dr. Aaron Kobitz, who's the Associate Director of the Sylvester Comprehensive Cancer Center. So thank you for being here. We also have Dr. John Cleveland, Director of Moffitt Cancer Center in Tampa, and Dr. Jonathan Lick, the Director of UF Health Cancer Center. We have Raymond Rodriguez Torres and Shanna Rodriguez Torres with the Live Like Bella Childhood Cancer Foundation. So thank you guys for being here. We all joined by a number of cancer survivors, including Raquel Koffler, and you will hear from her in just a minute. So this center is part of the University of Miami Health System, a very significant institution that furthers cancer innovation in Florida every day. This health system is home to the Sylvester Comprehensive Cancer Center, South Florida's only National Cancer Institute designated facility. There are other cancer centers in Florida that also deliver exceptional care. The Moffitt Cancer Center in Tampa, that's actually the only designated comprehensive cancer center by NCI in the state of Florida. We appreciate them. And then UF Health in Gainesville is currently applying for NCI designation, and the First Lady and I are supporting them in that effort, and we hope that they will be able to get that. So we believe that cancer initiatives is very significant in the state of Florida. It's pretty consistently been the second leading cause of death, just behind heart disease in the state, and I think that's pretty typical for what you see around the country. And so this was something that we had done things on for the time I've been governor, but particularly over the last year. This is something that has made a huge impact on our family, and you'll hear the First Lady talk a little bit about that. And so when she got her diagnosis last year, it's a very difficult thing for people to deal with. It really changes your life. You had to kind of, okay, what does the road look like? And I can tell you, when that happened, the one thing I did was started to do research. I started to look at what people have been able to do. And honestly, as bad as the news was, I had a great deal of hope because of the progress that's been made. And when she had her diagnosis, I looked to see what does that mean in terms of success rate. And fortunately, the success rate was very, very high. And so we really felt good about the ultimate prognosis. It's not easy to get there, of course, and there's a lot of hurdles along the way. But I think back to, if we were 30, 40 years ago, what would this have looked like? And I can tell you, it's a lot better now. So this year, we decided in the budget to, yes, continue supporting all the efforts at cancer research that we have been doing in the state of Florida, but we wanted to really go big. We wanted to make something that would be very, very meaningful and very, very historic. And so with the First Lady's help, we proposed a record $100 million for Florida's top cancer centers, including Sylvester Comprehensive Cancer Center, Moffitt, as well as UF in the governor's recommended budget. And I'm happy to report that the legislature followed through and honored that request. And I'm even more happy to say that when the budget is signed, we will approve it. So this is really a historic day. This funding, I think, is like a 60% increase. I mean, it's a really, really big deal. And we really have confidence in these institutions to be able to make good use of that money and do so in a way that'll have a meaningful impact on the lives of the patients that they will be seeing. We have done a lot over the years. If you look within the last 8 years, we've been able to provide in the state of Florida care and treatment to hundreds of thousands of patients. educated almost 83,000 biomedical research trainees, which of course will make up the next generation of researchers, and have allocated more than $820 million that we've drawn down from the federal government to 3 cancer centers. And then here with the state doing the $100 million, really a significant thing. And if you look nationwide, there's only 71 NCI designated centers throughout the entire United States. And so we have 2 here in the state of Florida, where we're at today, as well as Moffett and Tampa. And then I think we will pretty soon have UF will be joining that. And so to have 3 of 71, or there may be a few more by then, that's really important. We're a large state. We do want to see the UF Cancer Center receive the designation. We want world-class care to be available to residents in all regions of the state. And clearly, this is a big flagship here in South Florida, and Moffett is a big flagship in the Tampa area. But I think it would be really significant to be able to have that in University of Florida. And so I just want to say to the legislature, thank you for stepping up. It was not something that you necessarily needed to do. You could have continued funding at our previous levels, and that would have, quite frankly, still been meaningful. But to do this level of increase for an issue that is this significant and something that touches so many people. I think one of the things that was really noteworthy about when Casey was going through is when you first find out, you're kind of talking about it. We decided, because she's the first lady, that we would just announce it, because, she would be missing from action from some of the things that she would normally do. People would ask. And so we felt, but then the outpouring of support that we received was just absolutely incredible. But so much of it was by other people who had been touched in their lives by cancer. Maybe their mother had had breast cancer. Maybe they had it and survived. Unfortunately, people that had children that had pediatric cancer would come and talk about their stories. And so whether it is breast cancer, whether it's other forms of cancer, pretty much everyone in Florida is touched by this disease in one way or another. And when I was in elementary school, my mother went through breast cancer. I didn't really remember a lot. I was very young at the time, but that was something that we had dealt with even before. And then to have Casey go through it, particularly when you're talking about breast cancer and it's not good for anyone, don't get me wrong, but particularly when you have the mothers of the young kids, that are coming in, that is not something that that is a good thing to see. You do not want these kids to ever have to lose a mother, particularly at those young ages. And so one of the things that comforted me was, all the doctors and nurses that we dealt with when she was going through it, they were on a mission. They're like, there's just no way we're not going to have, you around, to help raise these kids and to be a mother to these kids. And so you see that. And I know when she did it, she provided a lot of inspiration to a lot of women throughout the state and really even beyond that. And I think the one thing I've learned is if you're getting this diagnosis for breast cancer, it's something that you can beat. It's not easy. It's a very difficult thing to have happen to anybody, but just have faith and really fight hard because the advances have been really significant. Obviously, we want to do more for a whole host of other types of cancers. And there's been great clinical trials done at Moffett. They're doing great work here. And I mean, you're going to see more and more advances, but just hang in there. And I can tell you, having watched the First Lady handle very difficult situation with a lot of class, a lot of dignity, and really always doing whatever she could to make sure that the kids were good and that I was good. I mean, she should have been focused on it. She's worrying about me, during this. She was really a champion, and I really just not wanting to see anyone go through it. But I can tell you her attitude was, what, if someone's got to go through it, I'd rather it be me than someone else. So she stepped up to the plate and did it. So I'm honored to be able to announce this $100 million, and I'm equally honored to be able to present to you, the First Lady, the state of Florida, my wonderful wife.
I don't know how you quite follow that. If I start talking about how wonderful my husband is, that's when I start to lose it, right? Because I didn't wear waterproof mascara. to say that he's been by my side every step of the way. He literally has been every step of the way. I put something out on social media the other day, and I meant it. I said he's picked me up literally and figuratively throughout this process. When the bad news was pouring in, and it seemed like a barrage of bad news, right? Those cancer people who have been diagnosed with cancer knows what that feels like. You go in and do a test, and then you wait, and then you get the news, and then you do another test, and you wait, and you get the news. And he stood by me the entire time. And not only did he do that, he never missed a chemotherapy appointment. 6 of those, sitting in there, very uncomfortable. And he held my hand through everything. And he also was an unbelievable supportive husband when it came to caring for our kids. Because like you said, you know, it's a tough thing for a mama of 3 little babies to have to go through this and to always put on a happy face. And you don't want them to know anything about what's happening to you. We have a 5-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 2-year-old, and they don't know what's going on. Someday they will, but they're going to know that their dada stood by mama, and we fought this. So that's what I want to say to everybody who's watching right now and has the opportunity to hear our words and hear about the $100 million in funding that these cancer institutes that are going to get, which is a game changer. Florida is going to lead the way to find a definitive cure once and for all types of cancer, and it's going to happen here because of this leadership. The leadership of the legislature, thank you for putting the money in the budget, and the leadership of the governor for putting it in his recommended budget. That's leadership. That's going to save lives. And the other thing that it's going to save lives, and I think that this is really important for people to hear, is how my story went and how I found out that I was diagnosed with cancer because something didn't feel right internally. There wasn't anything that I felt in my breast. I didn't feel a lump. I didn't feel a bump. For a lot of women out there, you have lumpy, bumpy breasts. That's just the way it goes, right? I mean, you know, it is what it is. But something wasn't right. So I went to go talk to my OBGYN, my gynecologist, and I said, something doesn't feel right. I could almost explain it as a dull sensation. And she felt around and she said, you know what, I don't feel anything. And essentially said, unfortunately, you know, you're good to go. Is there anything else I can do for you? Fortunately, she did not recommend that I get a mammogram. I walked out of the doctor's office. I felt fine for about 5 minutes until that nagging internal feeling would not go away. Like I said, it was a dull sensation, something that I had never experienced before. That sensation stuck with me so much that I said, I've got to get this checked out. And through the bureaucracy and trying to get a mammogram, I finally got one, and that's when they found it. And that's when I started getting the barrage of news that came in that, of course, is not easy for anyone who has been through the process. And I'll never forget the looks on some of the folks' faces who, when they see these things day in and day out, you know when they see something that doesn't look good, and you have to sit there and think, what does that mean and what's happening? But I can stand before you today and say that hope is alive. God is good. Never, ever give up the fight. Ever. And us, in closing, other than to say thank you for all the thoughts and prayers, thank you for all the letters that you have written, thank you for thinking of us, for thinking of the governor, for thinking of my children, for taking the time to do such wonderful things. Words can't even express what that means to our family and how many wonderful people are across the state who have done this for us, and so thank you. But one thing that got me through it, husband, Shirley, children, yes, great medical care, yes, are some of the women that you see behind me who are cancer survivors. Because you don't hear a lot about the good news. And we're going to change that in the state of Florida and foreshadow a little bit of a project that we're working on with a great Surgeon General and, of course, the leadership of the governor to share more of the good news. Because when I got a letter from somebody who is in my exact position, and they were a mama, and they were 41, and they were battling with cancer, but they beat it, that meant the world. When I was walking out of a church and a lady jumped out of the pew and grabbed me by both arms and she said, you have to hear this, I'm a cancer survivor of 26 years, and she shook me, that meant the world. Those stories need to be replicated and heard by people throughout the state, and we are working on a project to do just that, because behind me, you have stage 4 cancer survivors, stage 3 cancer survivors, stage 1 and stage 2 cancer survivors. You can beat it. There is hope. So I say, God bless you for your thoughts and prayers, and thank you for the funding.
All right. well, they were not going to not do the $100 million after that, right? I mean, so we're delighted to have with us the Surgeon General of Florida, Dr. Joe Ladapo. Hey, everyone. Thank you for your words, Casey. And, so I have, before I met Casey and in my years as a practicing physician, I have, I really always tried to take as good care of my patients as I could. And I learned from my patients any time I had the opportunity to. And my patients with cancer were a very special group of patients. I have never met people as courageous and with as much grit and just unstoppable forces as some of these patients. Having optimism in the face sometimes of very, very, difficult odds. And, I'd come around in the morning and they would smile and we would joke and I would examine them and ask them questions. And they, I felt really, really honored and blessed to be in that presence and to be able to, to sort of absorb the grace and the courage that they so often displayed. And, I think about them and I think about this funding that fortunately with the leadership of First Lady Casey DeSantis and our governor and our lawmakers, we've been able to put together. And it's a wonderful thing. And I think about the potential for that funding, the part of that funding that, for example, supports research, to be able to identify discoveries that actually make a difference for people in this state, and really it can be around the world. When you make a discovery that changes how we prevent or treat a cancer effectively, that's just a wonderful thing, and it's a really wonderful thing. So it's a wonderful thing that we have this additional funding. I want to say, actually, related to the research, something that Casey just mentioned, which is how she had a feeling that, something's not right. And speaking of learning from my patients, there's also listening to your patients. And I've been in that situation. It hasn't actually happened that often. Patients usually have different specific complaints, and you evaluate them and you try and diagnose them and treat and help them. But I've had a few times where a patient has looked at me and told me something's not right. I don't know what's going on. Something isn't right. And when I've had those patients, I always tell my residents, never ignore that. Unfortunately, unfortunately, the endings aren't always good from some of the experiences I've had. But I have learned from my experience as a physician never to ignore that, and that actually opens up an area of research. Even, what is it? Obviously, we should be listening to our patients, but being a doctor is tough, and it's there's a difference between theory and practice when you're actually taking care of patients. But what is it about that that experience, that feeling that patients sometimes have, where they're looking at you in the face in your office or in the examination room, and they're telling you that there's something that's not right, and I'm not sure what it is. So that's another area of research, place that we don't understand, but undoubtedly there's value. So I want to thank again our leaders of our state for providing this additional funding for research and training and education in cancer, and thank you again to our brave people who fight cancer. Thank you. All right. Okay, happy to be able to welcome up Raymond Rodriguez Torres, Chairman of the Live Like Bella Childhood Cancer Foundation Board of Directors and Bella's father. Oh, you okay. Yeah, I don't need.
Hi, I'm Shauna Rodriguez Torres, and I'm the Vice Chair and founder of the Live Like Bella Childhood Cancer Foundation. Our oldest daughter, Bella, was born with a mental handicap, but was otherwise a healthy 4-year-old when she suddenly became paralyzed overnight. We learned the cause of her paralysis was a very large tumor wrapped around her spine. In addition to that, she had 9 other tumors spread throughout her body. At the young age of 4, Bella was diagnosed with stage 4 alveolar rhabdomyosarcoma, an aggressive childhood cancer. Our family scoured the earth only to learn that unfortunately there were very few treatment options for her and that childhood cancer is the #1 disease killer of children. Doctors from around the globe agreed and confirmed that she would never walk again and only had maybe weeks or a few months to live. As a mother, I can assure you that there is nothing that can prepare you to hear those words.
But the author of life had a different plan for Bella, and she didn't live a few weeks or a few months. Instead, she battled valiantly for 6 years, and by miracle regained the ability to walk, run, and jump when it was never thought possible. With extraordinary help from around the world and support, our family set out with Bella's lessons to start the Live Like Bella Childhood Cancer Foundation, with the mission of assisting families while they were undergoing treatment, assisting them if their child should pass away from childhood cancer, and funding pediatric cancer research. 5 years ago, the state of Florida did something extraordinarily unique and innovative, and they created the Live Like Bella Pediatric Cancer Research Initiative, which to date, in only 5 years, has now surpassed $26 million made possible for pediatric cancer research exclusively in the state of Florida. We currently have 45 current research trials ongoing in the state, which is bringing incredible scientific innovation and hope for children and families that are facing the same battle that my wife and I faced with Bella. It is amazing that the state of Florida, the Sunshine State, is bringing light to a place that is remarkably dark. And so today, we want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart to the First Lady and Governor DeSantis, to our legislators that have made this possible. Today is a day that I know that Bella smiles from heaven. And I know it's a day that we will remain charged until that day that childhood cancer no longer threatens the lives of our children. God bless you. Thank you. And may we always live like Bella.
Thank you. And you guys, there's money in the budgets pending right now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Should I approve the money or what?
Yes.
All right, we'll approve that too. Okay. Okay, we're going to hear from a cancer survivor, Raquel Koffler.
Hello, my name is Raquel, and I'm a cancer survivor. Before 40, I had a wonderful life. I used to run marathons and do triathlons. December of 2011, I found blood in my urine. I went to my doctors to get it investigated, and after several tests and MRIs, they discovered that I had stage 4 kidney cancer with a tumor in thrombus tumor that had gone to the venal vein and vena cava. 2 weeks after that, I had radical right nephrectomy. They took my right kidney out. And 13 months after my surgery, the doctors noticed that the cancer had gone to my lungs. I underwent several harsh tests and procedures and treatments, and with horrible side effects. But I was determined to fight. I didn't want to have, I wasn't going to let cancer beat me and dictate my life. Thankfully, I have a great support system, my family, my friends, a loving husband, and I have a beautiful dog. I still work full time and I enjoy my life, and I am very active physically. I want to thank Sylvester. Thanks to the world-class medical experts and state-of-the-art medical equipment, I am here, and they gave me the help that I needed. I want to thank my doctors, my family, the First Lady, Governor DeSantis, for all you do, for your commitment to cancer research, and may God bless you.
Thank you. Good job. Well, thanks so much, and it's a great announcement. I think this is a great day for the state of Florida. We look forward to putting this money to good use, and I know that our cancer centers here in Florida will do that. I'd also just like to say, particularly since I'm down here, regarding news that the Biden administration is going to try to increase tourism and exchange programs with Cuba. I think we've seen this song before. That is going to increase the amount of money that's going to the dictatorship. Everything that enters that island, they control. And so the idea that that's somehow going to help the people in Cuba who've been struggling for freedom, we know that that will not be the case. And I think it's also very difficult to take on the heels of last summer having a unique opportunity to potentially see freedom flourish on the island for the first time in many decades, and then to have the administration do next to nothing. I mean, they wouldn't even green light internet access. I mean, you could have had Elon Musk would have done it, or somebody would have done it if we would have put some money behind it. And so, and I think it's unfortunately part and parcel of an administration's policy that all these people in the Western Hemisphere who are fighting against freedom for their people, they seem to want to do business with. They want oil from Maduro, work with Nicaragua. They're delisted FARC. So that is not the way you stand for freedom in our hemisphere. And so I think people, particularly down in South Florida, understand the minute you're sending more of this to the island, that's going right into the pocket of the Cuban dictatorship. That is not going to help the people of Cuba realize freedom. Okay, any questions? Yep. So the 2021, we did do a package. It was compromise. There were things that I wanted in there that didn't make it through because you have different interests that are at stake in the legislature. There were some positives on that, but clearly it did not solve the underlying problem. We tried to do it during the regular session. It ran to ground towards the end. And so we are in a situation where we've got to get this done. And so we work with the legislature to get a path forward, to set a date for a special session. And I think this will be the most significant reforms that we've seen with Florida's property insurance market in decades. And this is a problem that has festered for a long, long time. At the end of the day, we have about 8% of the insurance claims for homeowners nationwide. The state represents 78% of all the litigation nationwide with homeowners policies. And so the incentives are skewed, and it's not serving the interest of folks who are seeing these major premium hikes that are happening. So we are going to address, there's going to be a whole host of things that are going to be done. I think we've got broad agreement on most of it. There's a couple other things that we're working with them on, but it'll be a significant package, and we're not going to accept anything less than a very significant package for the people of Florida. So the call does not include that. What I've said when people ask me, oh, do this, do that, is, I would have done the property insurance earlier if we had agreement, which what I don't want to do is just load things on there and then have it run aground. And so if the legislature comes to me and say they have an agreement on doing some of the other key things that people have talked about across a wide range of issues, then of course we could address that. But I know we're working very hard on property insurance. I think it's an issue that we need to address. You have a lot of these other states do not have the same problems we do, and we understand we have more perils in Florida than many other states, but they have stable markets and we have not had that. And so we've got to get to that point. Otherwise, people are going to continue to either see massive rate increases or they get dumped into Citizens, which we know is not an actuarially sound program. Well, first of all, it's that's the Senate's prerogative. I can tell you that with Cord Byrd as Secretary of State, there will not be any ballot harvesting going on in the state of Florida. With Cord Byrd as Secretary of State, you are going to see our ban on Zuckerbucks enforced zealously. We're not going to let Zuckerberg come in and spend all this money The supervisors will be held accountable to make sure that the bill we just recently signed is complied with, particularly with making sure that the voting rolls are cleaned every year. Especially in our state, we got people coming and going. You need to make sure that you're doing that. And so I think it's going to be, good. I think every Floridian should have confidence. We'll have, I think, the most efficient, transparent process, and we will have great integrity measures that everyone should feel confident. Your vote's going to count in the state of Florida, and we are not going to do like these other states where it takes them weeks to count the ballots. Nobody knows what the hell is going on. No, we're going to count them, report the results, and then we'll move on. Yes, sir. Well, I think it's a slap in the face to everybody in South Florida that has experience with these Marxist dictators in our hemisphere. You have people who were driven out of the island of Cuba. You have people that's so bad, the oppression there, that they would get on a raft and go 90 miles over shark-infested waters to be able to get to freedom. You have people whose entire livelihoods were taken from them. Their entire liberty were taken away from them. And then they've come to here in South Florida. You've seen the same thing in what's happened with Venezuela. Used to be a very prosperous country. Then Chavez and Maduro, now it's like a third world country, even though they have so many natural resources. You look at what's happened in Nicaragua. You look at what could happen in places like Colombia. So to equate Florida, which is viewed not only in our country, but even around the world as a beachhead of freedom, to equate that with those regimes just shows that you have no idea what you're talking about. And I think that it really does a disservice to the oppression that so many people in Southern Florida have faced either firsthand or through members of their family. And there's a reason why people are pouring in to the state of Florida. There's a reason why we've led the country in net in-migration. I'm not even asking anybody to come. Some governors beg people to come. I love the people we have here. I'm fine. But they're fleeing a lot of these bad, and not just fleeing other states, they're fleeing from Canada. They're fleeing from other places to be able to come to the state of Florida. And so I realize there may be some people in the state of Florida, not in my party, but some others, politicians, who have a soft spot for dictatorships like in Cuba. They have a soft spot for people like Maduro and Ortega. And I just want people to know that I have contempt for those views because those views do not represent the values of the state of Florida, but particularly the values of the people of South Florida. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you guys. Thank you.